Good morning, good morning. Welcome to our Talks with Anthony. Today we're going to have a insightful conversation. For those that are new to the channel, we make mental health content that's going to be beneficial to your personal development in addition to your well-being, right? But in today's conversation, we'll be talking about learning who you are without survival mode, right? So if you spent most of your life in survival mode, it can be hard to tell who you are, what's real, what's going on. Is this really who I am, right? You're trying to have maybe an identity, not to say like a word like a crisis, something like that, but you're having like a little difficulty, right? So I want to have us understand like what helped us cope, but at the same time too is like learning who you are throughout that process, right? So I want us to normalize and reduce some shame, right? So first key point off rip is that many people develop habits and traits to stay safe, not to express themselves. This also can look overworking, like people pleasing, or emotionally shutting down, right? Based off your circumstances. I have to be real, right? Some of us are coming from dynamics that are healthy homes. You get that affirmation, you got that love off rip. Some of us come from dysfunctional families, right? So the yelling, the screaming, the talking down upon you, making you feel inadequate, dumb because you ain't doing something correctly or one way thinking, black and white thinking, right? So everybody's situation is going to be different, but if you can, think about your experiences, and as we navigate, as we go through this video, you're going to be able to kind of put some connections together, right? So let's grow together, right? So it can also make sense in regards to that identity feels unclear when it comes to what shaped you around your survival based off of how you were able to navigate through your life and those experiences, right? So you didn't have to choose that survival mode, right? You adapted into it, right? So you were able to figure out what worked for you in these dynamics. For instance, for me, I would just be transparent. I got the ear pods right now, but back in the days I had my headphones like I had Sony's. Let me start with there, and then I have my Beats, right? And ever since I got my music, I got out of trouble. Even around the house, I was feel like I was just kind of just chill, you know what I mean? So it's just like music works for me, right? So everybody has something that's gonna be able to work for them, but music worked for me. For instance, that's what's happened me in my survival mode, kind of keeping me grounded, and how I adapted into my experience. But pulling into some psychoeducation that's going to keep us grounded, right, is that survival mode is driven by the nervous system prioritizing safety over exploration, right? So your body is registering yourself rather to be safe. That's why some of us have a vigilant, always looking around, having trust issues. We don't trust nobody, right? We've really seen some things, right? Real trauma, right? We're really not trying to be into exploration mode, really not really trying to be out there looking into interacting with people, and limiting ourselves from the full life experience, right? In this state, decisions are based on avoiding harm, right? Not discovering preference, right? So like I said, we're avoiding the full life experiences because we're in that survival mode and trying to keep ourselves safe, right? So when it comes to safety increases, there can be a sense of confusion or emptiness, right? So when you're no longer just in survival mode, like I said, your system has to learn how to be this person again, not just the protector, right? So we got to be able to like find ourselves, build our character, right? Some of us have been shy, have been shut down, low self-esteem, right? So we have to be able to really build ourselves up again, really look at ourselves with compassion, look at ourselves with love, be able to understand that we've been through all these harsh experiences, being able to go to that forgiveness process, right? That self-acceptance process, right? There's that's a modality that's called ACT, right? And this is something I'm currently doing at one of my programs I'm working at right now, acceptance commitment therapy, and it's a real modality. It's a little difficult in the beginning, but it also like dives into your values, understanding what happened to you, who was saying what so and so to you, right? What values lingered into your mind and into regards to who you are today, right? Why is that, right? And understanding and developing some understanding around that, right? So that's why I feel like counseling is very beneficial. Mental health is very beneficial. Understanding what's going on, because your mood, your feelings, right, tap into your behavior, your actions, right? Your actions lead into some consequences of why you do what you do, right? And then you come down, you scratch your head, and you're like, oh, snap. You know what I mean? Like life just went so fast, right? So that's what I'm saying. It's really important to be intuitive with yourself, have that self-discovery, that understanding, lingering with that support with a professional, someone that you can trust for real, right? Where whatever you talk about is confidential in that room, stays in that room, right? But overall, like I said, it's just coming to terms that you're able to grow throughout this process when you're intentional with your time. But let's pull it back into the video, right? So those out there that's in that survival mode, you're avoiding that harm due to the fact that your safety is a main concern, right? So let's move on to some practical reframing in regards to how to explore safety as, an individual, right? So we know better, we do better, we're able to move better, right? So shift from who I am, right, to what feels right, even if little, right? So we got to be able to take into consideration, like I said, starting small is the most effective thing. You got to be rational with yourself. You got to be realistic with yourself, because some of us make unrealistic expectations and put high expectations on ourselves, and that makes us kind of rigid for us not to be able to even take the step moving forward, right? So you got to be able to, like I said, shift from who I am, right? Like, be gentle to yourself and what feels right for me right now, even if it's little. Focus on the small preferences instead of big identity answers, right? So focus on, what's good for you. What do you like, right? What's beneficial for you, allowing uncertainty without rushing into things to define yourself, right? So be optimistic, right? Don't worry about what other people got to say. Don't look into other people's, like, just even when it comes to society as well, making it seem like you can't do something. One thing I'm currently doing right now, I'm doing hot yoga. You feel me? Most people ain't doing that. Most fellas ain't doing that, right? Most black men ain't doing that, right? So figuring out what works for you is really going to help you develop your identity, right? I still shoot hoops. I still get buckets. I still do my thing, right? But I also realize, too, this is going to help me with my recovery. This is going to help me with my breathing. This is going to help me develop more of that self-discovery with me, right? So be willing to be kind of open with yourself, right? Be optimistic, be open-minded. But like I said, move away from the judgment of your family, your friends, what society's saying, right? False propaganda. There's a lot of things. Like I said, do what's beneficial for you, right? And please, if you can, connect with yourself with a counselor, because you're able to navigate this with someone that's able to help you, pour into you, and have you think critically about different aspects of whatever the circumstances are for you. Right, the person's here to serve you, right? So I really want to take that in consideration. But let's pull it back into this as well. Is that, like I said, focus on the small preferences instead of, like I said, the big identities, right? So avoid uncertainty without rushing to define yourself, right? Be gentle with yourself, right? So for instance, refrain yourself from saying something like this: I don't have to, have a full identity yet, right? But you also can take into consideration that I can notice what I like today, right? So you can focus on being more present, focus on the now, right? So identity isn't something that you have to find all at once. It's something that you notice over time. You grow, right? For instance, right, the individual that you are today, you wasn't when you was 13, right? The individual when you was 50 years old, right, wasn't the same individual when you was 22, right? So at the end of the day, right, as you grow, as you navigate year by year, hopefully, right, you're moving around, you're doing some different things, right? You're able to grow within this process, right? Like I said before, you would not catch me doing no journaling. You would not catch me doing no yoga. You feel me? You would not catch me having mindfulness, right? You would catch me kind of just be in my own world, thinking I know everything, right? But it took me some time to grow through my process, right? To acquire wisdom, listening to others, right? Seeking the wise information, motivational information, positive information, right? Things that's going to be able to benefit me, help me out. And I want you to also be able to have that mindset for yourself, right? What are things that are going to be able to benefit you, help you out, right? Seek the information, seek the support, advocate for yourself. Closed mouths don't get what? They don't get fed. You know what I mean? So I really want you to take that in consideration. But like I said, be open-minded, seek the support, love yourself throughout this process, be real compassionate with yourself, right? Because you went through a lot of things, specifically for those out there, like I said, we're in these dysfunctional homes, right? Going through chronic stress, right? It's really hard for you to trust, right? So I really want to take that in consideration, right? So let's dive into some micro action, immediate things that we could dive into, right? Because like I said, when you know better, you do better, right? So ask yourself, what feels slightly more like me right now? How do you feel within yourself right now? Choose a low pressure preference, like I said, when it comes to music, food, pace, activity, figuring out one thing that you're able to do that you like, you enjoy, that's going to bring you that light, right? And these things that you enjoy, keep doing it. If it's working, keep doing it, right? If it ain't broke, don't fix it. You feel me? So, let it be enough without analyzing it, right? You don't gonna be diving into it too much, whatever. If it makes you feel good, it makes you feel happy, keep doing it, right? Hopefully it's a healthy thing. Don't get it twisted. Like I said, music, food, pace, you know what I mean? Like, keep yourself active, getting around people, right? Sports, like finding what things work for you, hitting the gym, right? Flow, consistency, with that curiosity, not the pressure, right? So be kind to yourself. Like I said, be open-minded in regards to different things, especially for the fellas out there. I really want to take that in consideration, right? And I really want to say this too. before we come to a close, right, is that some of our people around us are keeping us back from our potential. I'm gonna say it again. Some of the people around us are keeping us back from our full potential, right? Some of our friends are lousy. They ain't doing what we're supposed to do. But what does that have to do with us? Why are we in this? Why are we in this bucket? Why are we in this barrel? Why are we in this circumference, right? We have a choice. Let's move around. Let's move ourselves around. So do the things that we got to do for ourselves, right? Life is what we make it. And time, don't wait for nobody, right? So I don't want us to sit here, be wasting our time, because that time could be used to our personal development, our growth, for us to get to where we need to be. At the end of the day, you can't tell people, right, to do something. They have to make a choice. You can't force somebody to the lake to drink that water, right? There's so many analogies out there, right, when it comes to making change, and it starts with us. It starts with you, right? So I really want you to spend that time for yourself, analyze yourself, think about yourself, understand yourself, really love yourself, right? Like I said, for those out there, regardless, but like I said, for those out there that went through those dysfunctional dynamics, right, I really want you to understand what's going on, specifically for those out there navigating through that survival mode, right? But pulling it back, like I said, coming to a close, you are more than what you had to be, right? You are allowed to outgrow the survival mode. You're allowed to outgrow your circumstances. You are allowed to grow in general, right? So it takes time. Everything that is good, it takes time. You are able to discover who you are without, you know what I mean, being in that, you know what I mean, that negative mindset. Love yourself, right? And everything's going to be all right. You heard? So if you found this video was beneficial, give it a thumbs up, share if possible, and I'll see you on the next one. Take it easy.